In this video, I'd like to talk about what makes Argentina such an amazing and wonderful country. So if you're Argentinian, just sit back and enjoy the video because we're going to be talking good about your country. If you're not Argentinian, this video is really for you. So this video is to really show you and tell you why Argentina is such a good place to live as well as visit. Just what makes it such one of the best countries in the world. To start off, Argentina has some of the most welcoming people in the entire world. So it doesn't matter if you're just visiting or if you're planning to stay there or immigrate there. Argentine people at large, of course there are some who aren't, but most of them are extremely, extremely welcome. So say you show up to Argentina and let's say you don't even speak Spanish. You didn't even learn Spanish before going to Argentina and you're just visiting this time. Argentine people still will be friendly to you. So that's one thing. In some countries, let's just say if you don't speak the local language or you don't even know a bit, people, let's just say they can not be friendliest to people. Argentina, it's kind of the opposite. Like even if you don't speak Spanish at all, people will still try to be very friendly. Maybe it comes from like a lot of people in Argentina have like Italian roots, like their ancestors from Italy, and Italian people are also very, very welcoming, even if you don't speak Italian. Maybe it's because of something like this, but regardless, no matter if you're just visiting or you're planning to actually move there, Argentina is very welcoming, even if you don't speak Spanish, although, of course, if you're planning to live there or travel there quite a bit, I would say learn some Spanish because it's not too difficult, as well as it's just a very useful language to learn. Another thing about the people of Argentina, they're very, very passionate, and this also makes it just, the country feels more alive when you're there. So they're passionate about many things. I'm sure you already know, like Argentinians are pretty passionate about like football and stuff. They absolutely love football on average, as well as, of course, like they also they're pretty passionate about a few other things. Like one other thing they're passionate about, of course, their country. Argentinians actually like Argentina. They have some disagreements with the government, of course. Not as much now with the new president, but I don't know. Politics are always politics in most countries. But Argentinians are very passionate about just usually their country as a whole. Not really the political aspects, but just Argentina being a good country. Because they know the truth. It is a good country. But they're also passionate about football as well as like family gatherings and like barbecues among friends. They call it like making asado. It's like a grilled meat sort of thing as well as some other stuff. A lot of them are quite passionate about making it in their own way and just different things like this. A lot of people say like Argentinians are also passionate about dancing and tango. I don't know. I feel like they don't have quite as much passion about this, at least publicly, but a few times if you get invited over to like a Argentinian person's house and they're having some family gathering, okay, then it shows a little bit sometimes after dinner. Like it might sound ridiculous, but after dinner, after socializing a bit, they will sometimes dance a bit and enjoy. So it's something where I don't know if I really put that as very, very passionate about it, but they really are passionate about family gatherings and enjoying life as well. And that's another thing that really makes Argentina and Argentinian people really wonderful and amazing is they really value like family values quite a bit. So they do value family gatherings. They do meet with family quite a bit, and like not just like close family, like nuclear families, like your brother, your sister, your mom, but also like cousins and stuff. They do like have gatherings with them quite a bit, as well as they really value their youth. So they really value like the younger people in their family, as well as just generally in society. They really appreciate the youth and stuff like this. Not many countries are like this, and not many people are like this, quite frankly. It seems really something that's kind of unique to Argentina, maybe Southern Europe a little bit, like Italy as well as Russia. Russian people also really are like family oriented on average, and it just really, you see a lot of family values in these countries, and Argentina shares that. So the people of Argentina are very family oriented a lot of the time, especially in the countryside. You go out of the big city of Buenos Aires and it becomes more and more family oriented, which I don't know, personally, I really appreciate and I really like. Kind of related to family values and just generally the values of Argentinian people. Another thing that I really like about Argentina and the people is they really value, I don't know, freedom. Like they value having personal freedom. Like if you're, especially in the countryside, if you're not hurting anybody, you're not doing anything wrong to anybody, they really think you should kind of be left alone to do what you want. There's not as many restrictions as like in Europe regarding like, say you own some land out there in the countryside. There's not as many restrictions on what you do on the land. So if you want to build certain things, there's not quite as much restrictions. There are some, of course, but it's not quite as intensive and burdensome. And it's not like your neighbor can just go and complain, hey, my neighbor over there has a tree I don't like. you can't really do this in Argentina. This doesn't really get anything done. So like they really value personal freedom and the ability for you to really do what you want as long as it doesn't hurt other people. Of course, there's a bureaucratic class and like some government things that thankfully are being reduced that were inhibiting this a lot, but at least a good over 50% of Argentinian people really value personal freedom and just everything regarding that, which is quite frankly quite rare these days. A lot of people think if you say certain things that aren't, let's just say, very appropriate socially, that you should be punished for it. This is quite common in a lot of Western countries now. Argentina, it seems like they don't care as much. You can kind of say what you want. You really do have more of a freedom of speech here, that's true. Like Western countries used to have a long time ago. I feel like freedom of speech in Western countries is kind of went down. Argentina, it's still there. So that's something that also just makes Argentina a wonderful country. Another thing would be like, I don't know really how to put it, but it's uniquely European. So like recently, in the past year, I go to Europe quite a bit, occasionally. In the past year, I went, stayed there about 2 months in total. And I don't know, Argentina feels more European than most of Europe does. So of course, like some of the Balkan countries, like you go to Bosnia, they feel very European as well. Also kind of mixed with Eastern Europe, Russian and stuff, but they feel kind of pretty European as well. The architecture, the parks, it's very nice. But a lot of Europe now doesn't really feel very European. It just doesn't have the vibe there. They don't keep up with things. I don't know, it doesn't feel very European anymore, especially last, I don't know, 5 years or so, since like COVID and a lot of more immigrants and stuff. It's changed how Europe feels. When you go to Argentina, especially Buenos Aires, but a lot of Argentina really feels more European than a lot of Europe does. So obviously there are places in Europe that still feel European, but you wouldn't really expect in South America it to feel very European. So I mentioned Buenos Aires, it feels quite European in some of it, but it's not just there. So you might not really expect it, but if you go to other smaller towns, it can actually feel, in my opinion, a little more European. Like you go over to, one example would be like Bariloche in the west of the country, kind of like in northern Patagonia or so, but it's one of these cities over there, medium-sized, like mountain town. You go there, it feels more European, it feels more German or Austrian or Swiss than, quite frankly, most of Germany does. I don't know, it's something about it. It's hard to really explain and put into words, but when you're in Argentina, it feels quite European, even though it's in South America. And it just feels amazing. The architecture is just a little bit better than a lot of places, and they really just seem to take care of it as much, like a little bit more. You don't have as much graffiti everywhere and stuff like this in those sort of areas. Of course, there are certain areas of Argentina, especially in like the outskirts of Buenos Aires, where you do get a bit more graffiti and it doesn't really have this European feel as much. Or at least modern European feel. It feels more countryside or something. But like those places aren't really bad either, but they're not really this European feel. And the next thing that just makes Argentina really a great country would be like, it has a lot of variety of culture. So you might initially think like, oh, it's Argentina, they just have Argentinian culture. Well, that's not really the case. So Argentinian culture, what you might think of Argentinian people, would just be like how Buenos Aires people are and like central Argentinian people are, but it's not really all they got. So they also have like basically like cowboy culture, like Texan culture, something like this. Like it's more in the Pampas. It's a little bit different culture. It's kind of Argentinian, but it's kind of their own thing as well. And they also have like over in Patagonia area, they have like some native people, but also they just have a kind of local culture as well. It's kind of different. It feels different. People behave a bit differently than a lot of the rest of the country. And it's just, Argentina has a lot of different local cultures within the country, as well as it has a lot of like other cultural influences. So like one example would be in that town I mentioned before, Bariloche, in the mountains. Over there, like the culture there is very different just because of its climate and the way of life over there. It has lots of nature, mountains, hiking, glacier lakes, stuff like this. But also just the influence. A lot of the people who moved there and migrated there, settled there, were more like German and Swiss and Austrian origin than like Italian origin. So there's a mix of Italian origin as well in there, just general Argentinian people as well as some natives, but it does have, like, it shows signs of a lot of the German influence from the people who moved there many generations ago. So like you also have like different local cultural elements that you can kind of see and feel. So like an example, in that town, in that region really, you see like some chocolate factories, you see more craft brew, like beer, like homemade beer. You see just different things like this that you really would, if it isn't something you would really expect in Latin America, especially Argentina, but it's there anyway, because different immigrants from different parts of the world brought it there and settled in those regions. So that's what I mean. Like there's a lot of different cultural elements that depend on the region you're in. It just really makes Argentina a very unique and wonderful country. Like most countries aren't like this. Most countries, it's kind of flat across the board. It feels kind of the same. But Argentina, if you go from Buenos Aires down to like, I don't know, you drive 20 hours south into the Pampas and Patagonia area, like northeastern Patagonia, it feels completely different there. The people just, it feels very different. If you go over into Bariloche, it feels very different, and it's just, this is something that's very unique. Only, I feel like only a handful of countries are like this. And it just, yeah, it makes it really feel like you can travel within your own country and see different things. You can travel, like, as well as that's the other thing. Like, Argentina has such a big variety of landscape and climates that you could kind of, say you live in Buenos Aires, but you kind of want to do some hiking, some mountains, you want to go to the Himalayas. Well, you don't need to go to the Himalayas. You can go to the west of the country, to like that town, Bariloche, and they have amazing mountains there that, in my opinion, are as good as the Himalayas. So, like, you have tons of variety there. And if you want, you can go to the north and go to big waterfalls and basically tropical climate as well. If you want, you can go to the very south and go to basically the Arctic. So like you have a lot of variety there in terms of landscapes and climates and weather. As well as another thing is just in these cities, like how these cities feel are quite different, like, and the regions as well. So again, like if you go to Mendoza, like it's completely different, not completely different culture, it's kind of in the same basket as Buenos Aires, but it's a little bit different, as well as just the way of life is very different. It's more about a wine region, it's quite a bit drier. Things like this, it really does change how life is to some extent. It also kind of feels European in some ways as well. But if you go to Bariloche, the lifestyle and just how things are more centered around, I don't know, hiking. It does have quite a bit of tourism as well in the economy, but it has lots of hiking, glaciers, outdoor activities, and just things like this. If you go to Buenos Aires, it's more business oriented and things like this. So like there's a lot of different variety of life even within these cities, and of course, like I said, different cultures around Argentina. It just really makes it a very unique and wonderful country. You can kind of go to Argentina and go all around it, and it doesn't really get boring or uninteresting. It's always kind of a little bit different, a little bit this, a little bit that. It's very interesting to me. And another thing that makes Argentina just really an amazing and wonderful country is, say you're a foreigner and you're going to Argentina, especially Buenos Aires, there's a large like expat community, as well as a large amount of Argentinian people who do speak some English, who also like socializing with you. So even if you don't speak fluent Spanish or you're not very confident speaking Spanish yet, then Argentina, especially Buenos Aires, can be okay. To me, I still feel like Argentina is one of the places where it feels much better if you do learn some Spanish and you do speak in Spanish, as well as it just opens so many doors, especially outside of Buenos Aires, where just the lifestyle is much better. But the thing I like with Argentina is just the work-life balance you have is just so much better. Like I mentioned before, Argentinian people really value family gatherings and things like this, and like asados with friends, family. So they do things like this, as well as of course football, and this gives a lot of like balance to their work life and just allows them to enjoy life as well. But this also applies to foreigners traveling there as well as living there. Like, it just feels you have more of a work-life balance. There is good nature nearby in pretty much all these cities of Argentina. Hiking and stuff like this, or some, like Buenos Aires doesn't really have tons of hiking, but they do have like this waterway in the north. I haven't really been to that place, so that's why I'm not really 100% clear on it, but I did look it up after someone mentioned it in one of my videos, and it looks very good. So there's that around there, but there is also some hiking in Buenos Aires, so in the east of the city, or like along the water, there's this area where they do have a big hiking area for you. It's like, I think it's like ecological park or something like this. I think that's what it was called. But yeah, there's hiking there, as well as there's a few other small hiking areas in Buenos Aires. But also it's very easy to just go to the airport and fly over to most other cities in Argentina, especially in the west of the country. Example being, again, Bariloche. There's tons of hiking there, there's tons of outdoor activities, there's tons of stuff to do. So it just really allows a good work-life balance. You always have nature nearby, there's always things to do. And in Buenos Aires, while there might be a little bit less nature, there is still some. For a very big city like that, there's quite a bit, actually. Like if you compare it to other big cities in the world, say, especially in Asia, you compare it to, I don't know, Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, there's way more nature right nearby Buenos Aires and Ho Chi Minh. You compare it to, I don't know, even like Mexico City. Mexico City, it takes many hours to get to any nature. Buenos Aires, you can get to nature in at most an hour. Let's think about Sao Paulo, Brazil. Again, the nature there is just not really as convenient. Another huge city, a mega city, but it's just, you can't really get to nature as easily. You don't really have that work-life balance you do in Buenos Aires. So that's one thing I really like about Argentina generally, is just the work-life balance is there. The social aspects are much better, both for, like, if you want to socialize with foreigners as well, it's quite good in Buenos Aires, but outside, you're going to be socializing more with Argentinians, which, to me, like I said before, are very friendly, welcoming people. So at least if you speak some Spanish, you will really be able to take advantage of all that and really enjoy all that. So that's a lot of the things I really think make Argentina a very unique and wonderful country. If you have any thoughts or questions, well, you know what, I'd like to talk about a few more things here. So I talked a little bit about nature and the climate earlier, but I want to really stress it. Like, the climate in Argentina is some of the best weather you'll get in the entire world. They don't really have issues with pollution. It never gets really too hot. So okay, in the north of Argentina, it will get a little bit hot, but in most of Argentina, it doesn't get too hot. Especially near Buenos Aires, it stays relatively cool all year long, as well as in Bariloche, it stays relatively cool all year long. But you really get kind of 4 seasons in there, and to me, it has one of the best climates in the entire world. It's one of the things that I really enjoy about Argentina. As well as, of course, like I said, again, the nature. The nature, I want to stress it again, like the nature in Argentina, especially the mountains, the hiking, the like raw, untouched land you have in nature in Argentina is some of the best in the world. Like, there's only a few countries that really have this left. Really, it's like, okay, like Alaska, certain parts of Canada, and Chile, as well as like the mountains in Nepal. Like, those are the only places you can really find this type of nature, I feel like, that's this untouched, this just natural, wild. And it's really fantastic. When you go there, you just feel really connected and alive. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I just wanted to stress those 2 points a little bit more. Argentinian people are very friendly, the nature's fantastic, the climate's amazing, and just really, Argentina is one of the best countries in the world, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the video. Enjoy. If you have any thoughts or questions about visiting Argentina, or you just have something you would like to share that makes Argentina such an amazing country in your opinion, feel free to leave that down below in the comments. But with that being said, bye bye.